Good evening, theatre addicts. My name is Fern and I'm here at the Waterfront Theatre and I'm going to review the 5-Step Guide to Being German 2.0 by Paco Erhardt as part of the 2018 Vancouver Fringe Festival. This show was actually my first pick. For personal reasons maybe. My partner is actually German and my grandfather's mother was also German, and his family speak little to zero English, so what better than for me to take this course on becoming fully German. He sells himself from his website as the world's German comedian, but from having had so much to do with Germany and Germans, I'm very much aware of their sense of humor. They definitely have a good sense of humor. And I did actually see another German comedian at another Fringe festival who said his website was germancomedian.com and it was still available. So I think that is a joke that German comedians play on, that we all think that Germans are so serious. This particular show of his has actually been sold out in many countries since about 2011. So I'm particularly excited to see his style of comedy. According to the show's write-up, he says he doesn't go with the typical German cliches and instead actually explores why in history that Germans have developed these stereotypes and these cliches that we think of them, or we think they have. So that appeals to me as someone who loves history, but also I've met a lot of German travelers, young German travelers, and he mentions how in his website he mentions how they want to distance themselves from actually being German, or like not a practicing German. And I think that's true. I've met a lot of young Germans who sort of want to try and distance themselves from that German stereotype. So that aspect of the show I'm really excited about. So I'll see you after the show. So it's a little bit after the show now, and my first reaction is just that it is brilliant. He is so funny. I definitely recommend seeing the show, just hands down, no matter who you are. You don't have to be German to enjoy this, and if you are German, you'll particularly enjoy this. Even though it says it's a 5-step guide to being German, all the more reason to go. I think especially if you are British, you should see this show. He's spot on with some of his ridicule. Don't take it offensively though, and I'm sure British people won't. Paco has traveled a lot around the world and he's spent many years in different countries, so I think his perspective on things is very international. So especially with the young German tourists that he was mentioning, he's seen them from the perspective of living in other countries and them coming as tourists. But yeah, even if you're not British, even if you're not German, if you're Canadian, I thought his tie-ins with his German jokes and his tie-ins to the same kind of cliches or generalizations of certain things in Canada was brilliant. It just really tied so smoothly over so that the Canadians could relate to things in their country. So definitely see it if you're Canadian, but I mean, even if you're not, it's so funny. There's so much to laugh at. I always appreciate comedians who use history, who have an intelligence about their comedy. I think there's a lot of comedians that use just things that are in the news and then they use these things as shock value and shock jokes, and I've never been a fan of that. So saying that, I thought that most of his show was brilliantly done and with use of history. But the one thing I didn't really appreciate was his one joke about Joseph Fritzl. It seemed out of place because the rest of the show was so clever and a play on all these cliches and, you know, all this kind of typical German things, and it tied in with a joke that he pulled in again a little bit later, but I just thought for his humor, for his intelligent kind of humor, it didn't really have its place. He was asking people if they knew who Joseph Fritzl was, and from the response of the audience, it didn't really seem that many people did, but I do, and it didn't touch base, but there's always going to be jokes by a comedian that doesn't really touch base with someone. In the write-up on his website, he said that he tried not to use all the same cliches, which I think that he ended up doing. But I think when you're talking about Germans and their characteristics, you're going to end up using the same cliches. I mean, it's what makes it funny anyway. The one thing I say that I didn't really necessarily have a problem with, but that I thought was kind of more easy humor, was how many times he did play on like the Nazi aspect and the Hitler thing. I think that these days, that's not what Germans are known for. You know, my partner, who's German, he's gotten a few people who will, you know, at a Nazi salute him. I think most of the time it's more about the German technology and how efficient they are, and actually how like friendly Germans can be. So I think that it was easy humor, but still very funny. So I didn't really have a problem with it. I thought some of the examples that he used were so brilliant, how he delivered his examples. He had a few pictures on cardboard, and some of those things that he used example of like how Germans use the Autobahn, and I honestly had tears in how he explained that part. It was just, he had some solid examples, some solid anecdotes. It was really good, and I sensed a little bit of an Eddie Izzard influence in some of his things, which I think the British people in Vancouver will appreciate. The one thing that he explored that I found very interesting was the lack of national pride that Germans seem to have, especially young Germans. And he mentioned how in their education, in history classes, they're drilled and drilled about what terrible people Germans are because of their history or because of what's happened. And I just thought this reflected a little bit, reflected on my education growing up in South Africa. Now, South Africa has the same kind of dark stain on our past, just as bad. In fact, concentration camps originated from South Africa back in the Boer Wars, as far as I know. So we had this terrible stain. And we are taught that in schools. We're taught all about the apartheid and all, you know, the history. But I've grown up with such a strong sense of pride about being South African. You know, I'm so proud of where we've come from, like how far we've come and how far we still can go, hopefully. And I just think that it's very sad to see so many Germans. You know, I've got about 3 South African flags hanging up in my apartment, and I'll wear it proudly. I love the flag. I love the new anthem. Not so new anymore, but it's beautiful. But it's so sad to me that Germans almost feel like they can't have that. You never see a German wearing their flag proudly. You know, I mean, the anthem, they took out the part that was a bit offensive. But I just wonder if there might not have been something that could have been done that completely changed the country's symbols, like the anthem, like the flag. The flag did change, but I just feel it's so sad that they're not allowed to have this national pride. I mean, South Africans were just as bad. So I'm hoping that'll change in the future for Germans. I feel like it's starting to a little bit. Other than that, the venue is a little bit bigger, but it's a great venue. You feel comfortable. There's nothing really I can say about that. It's one of the bigger venues. I don't think, again, kids probably won't appreciate the humor, maybe again a bit of language, but honestly, definitely see the show. There's a reason this has been sold out. There's a reason that this is at a bigger theater. Just bring everyone you know. You'll really have a good time, and you'll be laughing a lot. So that was my review on the 5-Step Guide to Being German 2.0 by Paco Erhardt. It didn't turn out to be so much of a guide, and so I don't feel any more German, but I honestly think everyone should see the show. It is so funny. So please leave a comment below. Tell me some of your best parts if you've seen this show. There were some real tear moments where I had tears from laughing. And please follow the Theatre Addicts YouTube page and the website and check the website for more reviews, and enjoy the rest of your fringing.